What if I told you the reason you're tired, angry, and restless is because you care about things that don't matter? You care about people who don't value you. You chase validation that disappears the moment you breathe. You give your power away every time you react, explain, or try to be understood. But a warrior doesn't react. He watches, he listens, he moves when it's time, and only then. I didn't master my craft by being liked. I mastered it by becoming untouchable. If you want peace, stop caring. If you want freedom, become unshaken. And if you're ready, I'll show you how, not with theory, but with 12 ruthless strategies I lived by that made me unstoppable. 1. Detach from the image they created for you. From the moment you were born, the world began crafting an image of who they thought you should be. Be polite, be quiet, follow the rules, stay in line. They tell you how to speak, how to dress, what to believe, and who to become. Not because they truly understand you, but because they feel safe when you are predictable. They fear your uniqueness. They fear your power. But I tell you this, the version of you they created is not your truth. It is a mask, a cage, a script written by others who never walked your path. And if you continue to live by it, you will suffocate your spirit. I never accepted the mold they gave me. Whether it was in Hollywood, in martial arts, or in philosophy, they tried to box me in. Be more like this. Speak less like that. Don't be so intense. Don't challenge the system. But I refused. I shattered the mold because I knew to live fully, I must live freely. And to live freely, I had to let go of every version of myself that wasn't born from my own soul. You must make a choice. Continue carrying the image they placed on you like chains, or drop it, burn it, rebuild yourself from the inside out. The moment you stop trying to live up to their expectations, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time: freedom. And with that freedom comes power. Power to move how you want, speak what you believe, and walk your own path without apology. Let go of their image, let go of the weight. Only then will you move with the speed, precision, and peace of a warrior, unburdened and unstoppable. 2. Master inner stillness. In a world that constantly demands your reaction, your attention, your emotions, inner stillness is your greatest weapon. Most people live like a leaf in the wind, tossed around by opinions, overwhelmed by noise, and dragged down by things that don't matter. Every insult shakes them, every failure breaks them, every whisper behind their back becomes a storm inside their mind. But the truth is, you cannot control the chaos around you, only the calm within you. When I trained in martial arts, I didn't just train the body, I trained the mind to remain silent in the middle of noise, because the battlefield is not always outside. Sometimes the real fight is internal, the fight to stay composed when someone disrespects you, the fight to remain patient when life delays your progress, the fight to stay grounded when fear, anger, and insecurity try to take control. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of clarity. It means your mind becomes a quiet lake, even if stones are being thrown into it. It means you feel emotions, but you don't let them control your response. It means you listen, not to reply, but to understand. It means that even when the world is on fire, you remain the eye of the storm. But stillness doesn't happen by accident. It comes through discipline, daily mental training. When you wake up, do you check your phone and instantly let the world hijack your mind? Or do you sit with yourself, breathe, and choose how you want to feel? When someone offends you, do you explode? Or do you pause, observe, and respond with control? This is the difference between a slave of emotion and a master of the mind. I became unshaken because I trained my mind to be still. I didn't rush. I didn't overreact. I didn't let the outside world poison my inner peace. I watched, I waited, and when I moved with power, because the man who is still inside cannot be broken by anything outside. So I say this to you: build your stillness, protect it like a sacred temple, because in silence you will find strength. And once you master that stillness, you become unshakable, no matter what life throws your way. 3. Don't explain yourself. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't understand your vision, you give away a piece of your power. You open the door to doubt, to judgment, to people who are not qualified to guide you. And for what? For their approval, for their permission, for their applause. Stop. The truth is, most people will never understand your path because it was never meant for them. Your dreams are too big for their limited vision. Your discipline threatens their laziness. Your silence exposes their chaos, and your growth makes them uncomfortable. So they question you. Why are you working so hard? Why don't you come out and relax like the rest of us? Why are you trying to be different? And if you're not strong in who you are, you'll start explaining yourself. You'll start shrinking. You'll start watering down your fire to make them feel comfortable in their coldness. I never explain myself to critics, doubters, or small minds. Why? Because I knew that explaining is often wasted breath on ears that are already closed. People see what they want to see, and no explanation will change that. If they see you as arrogant, let them. If they say you've changed, thank them. If they think you're cold, so be it. Your life is not a courtroom. You don't need to defend your purpose like you're on trial. You don't need to hand out evidence to prove your worth. You don't need to justify your silence, your distance, your ambition, your peace. Live so intentionally that your results speak for you. Let your discipline explain your mindset. Let your focus speak your vision. Let your calmness prove your strength. I knew who I was. I knew what I stood for. And if someone didn't understand that, I let them stay confused. Because my job was to keep building, not keep explaining. So stop explaining your greatness to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop shrinking your light to make others feel safe in the dark. The more you explain, the more they expect to control you. Move in silence. Work in silence. Let your success be the loudest thing they ever hear from you. And remember, a lion never explains why it walks alone. It just walks with power, purpose, and presence. 4. Train yourself to observe without absorbing. Most people go through life like a sponge, soaking up everything around them without control. They absorb negativity, fear, doubt, and chaos from people, social media, news, and even strangers passing by, and they wonder why they feel heavy, tired, and anxious. But here's the truth. Just because something enters your space doesn't mean it has to enter your spirit. You must train yourself to become like a mirror, able to reflect what's in front of you, but never hold it. When someone throws anger at you, reflect it, don't absorb it. When someone projects their insecurity or jealousy onto you, see it clearly, but do not let it enter your mind. When you're surrounded by negativity, don't let it find a home in your heart. This is mental self-defense. Just like a martial artist blocks a punch, you must learn to block the emotional attacks that come from the outside world. Most of them aren't even intentional. People speak from their pain, they judge from their wounds, they react from their confusion. And if you're not aware, you'll start carrying their energy as your own. You'll begin to doubt yourself. You'll take things personally that were never about you. You'll overthink a look, a message, a tone, and create suffering out of nothing. But when you develop the discipline to observe without absorbing, you rise above the noise. You start to see things clearly. This person is projecting. This moment is temporary. This emotion is not mine to carry. You become the observer, not the reactor, and the observer holds the power. I trained my mind to stay sharp like a blade, not soft like a sponge. I listened more than I spoke. I watched people's energy more than I listened to their words, and I never allowed someone else's storm to drown my inner peace. You must practice this every day. Pause before you respond. Breathe before you react. Observe what's happening around you, but don't attach your identity to it. Protect your mental space like a fortress. You don't let anyone walk into your home and throw garbage on your floor. So why let them do that in your mind? Start becoming aware of what you're allowing in, because what you absorb becomes what you carry, and what you carry becomes who you are. Train yourself to observe everything, but absorb nothing that weakens you. That's how you stay light. That's how you stay focused. That's how you stay free. 5. Kill the need to please. There is no heavier chain than the need to be liked by everyone. No quieter poison than the constant craving for approval. And yet, most people walk through life with a smile that isn't real, a voice that isn't theirs, and choices that betray who they are. All because they want to please others. But let me ask you, at what cost? When you live to please, you die to your true self. You start adjusting your behavior not to express your soul, but to avoid disapproval. You start filtering your words, shrinking your dreams, softening your truth, just to avoid being judged, disliked, or misunderstood. You become an actor in your own life, performing a version of yourself that feels safe for others, but suffocating for you. And here's the brutal truth. No matter how hard you try, you will never please everyone. You could be the kindest, most honest, most helpful person alive, and still, someone will hate you for it. They'll twist your goodness. They'll question your intentions. They'll find flaws in your perfection. Why? Because most people don't see you as you are. They see you as they are through the lens of their wounds, their fears, their insecurities. And the more you try to please them, the more you lose yourself. You say yes when you mean no. You stay silent when your soul is screaming to speak. You follow their path while your own path slowly disappears beneath your feet. I saw this in the world I lived in. Hollywood wanted me to play roles that dishonored who I was. They wanted the exotic version of me, the quiet, submissive version, the marketable puppet, not the philosopher, not the fighter, not the free man. But I refused, because I knew that if I gave up who I was just to please the crowd, I would lose everything that made me powerful. I didn't come here to be accepted. I came here to be real, to live, to express, to burn with intensity, even if it made people uncomfortable. And you must do the same, because the moment you stop living for approval, you start living with power. Power to say no without guilt. Power to walk away from fake connections. Power to speak your truth without watering it down. Power to chase your mission even if nobody claps for you. When you stop needing to be liked, you start attracting people who love you for who you really are, not who you pretend to be. Your energy becomes authentic. Your presence becomes magnetic, because you're not trying to win anyone. You've already won yourself. But killing the need to please is not easy. You've been programmed to seek praise since childhood. You were rewarded when you followed the rules and punished when you didn't. You were taught to make others comfortable at the expense of your own comfort. So breaking that pattern requires awareness, strength, and repeated discipline. Start with this. Before you say yes, ask yourself, am I doing this from love or from fear? Am I agreeing because it aligns with my truth, or because I'm afraid they'll be disappointed? If your reason is fear, don't do it. Then train yourself to face disapproval. Say no and watch them frown. Disagree and let them be uncomfortable. Speak honestly and let the silence fall. And when it does, you will feel a fire rise inside you. Not anger, but freedom. Not rebellion, but sovereignty. Because you're no longer being held hostage by the opinions of others. You're finally free to be yourself. That's when life starts to move differently. Your decisions become bold. Your energy becomes calm. Your confidence doesn't come from claps, but from alignment. You don't wait for permission to live. You live. And one more thing. Those who truly love you will never require you to betray yourself just to make them happy. They'll respect your truth. They'll admire your authenticity. They'll trust your no as much as your yes. But those who get angry when you stop pleasing them were never for you in the first place. They were just addicted to the version of you that kept them comfortable. Let them go. You are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to be exactly who you are. Unapologetically, unshakably, unforgettably. So kill the need to please. And rise, because when you stop trying to be liked, you start becoming unstoppable. 6. Cut the strings of approval. Approval is one of the most deceptive traps in this world. At first, it feels like support. It feels like love, recognition, connection. But over time, it becomes a chain, a quiet addiction that steals your freedom one compliment at a time. You post something and you wait, not because you're proud, but because you're hoping someone will clap. You wear something, say something, do something. And your sense of value depends on how others react. This is not living, this is performance. And most people live their entire lives like this, performing for the crowd, desperate for likes, applause, attention, afraid to be different, afraid to be rejected, so they play it safe, they blend in, they conform. But here's the truth. When your identity is tied to approval, you give others the power to control your emotions. If they praise you, you feel high. If they ignore you, you feel worthless. If they criticize you, you crumble. That is not strength. That is slavery. You were not born to be a puppet, dancing for someone else's validation. You were born to create, to speak, to move with authenticity. Not because it pleases the crowd, but because it pleases your soul. I knew this trap well. When I entered the world of film and fame, the applause was loud, but I didn't let it blind me, because I understood something most people don't. The same crowd that cheers for you today will boo you tomorrow if you stop giving them what they want. That's why I built myself in silence, why I stayed rooted in my truth, why I never let the cheers inflate me, because I knew not to let the jeers destroy me. And that's the lesson. If you need their approval to feel whole, you've already lost yourself. Cut the strings, cut them gently or cut them ruthlessly, but cut them. Because those strings are invisible chains, and every time you move, you wonder, will they like this? Will they approve of me? Will I still be accepted if I speak my truth? You become cautious, controlled, constricted. You start betraying your own instincts, your own voice, your own rhythm. You become a version of yourself that is safe for others, but miserable for you. You must understand this. Approval is an illusion. It changes with trends, emotions, insecurities, and projections. One day they call you wise. The next day they say you're arrogant. One day they love your confidence. The next they call it ego. If you try to live for their approval, you will never be consistent, because their standards are always shifting. So stop chasing applause, chase alignment, chase clarity, chase truth. The moment you stop living for approval is the moment you take your power back. You start speaking what you believe, even if it shakes the room. You start choosing what's right, even if it's not popular. You start walking your own path, even if no one walks beside you. And when you do that, something magical happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to validate yourself. You begin to love yourself, not because someone else told you to, but because you finally remembered who you are. Look around you. How many people are just reflections of what others want them to be? Living someone else's dreams, hiding their own light, suppressing their inner voice. They don't need motivation, they need liberation. And that liberation starts by cutting the need for permission. You don't need permission to be bold. You don't need permission to walk away. You don't need permission to be loud, quiet, fast, slow, different, misunderstood, or even alone. You only need one thing: courage. Courage to stand in front of a world addicted to approval and say, I am not here to please you, I am here to be real. Because when you detach from the need to be liked, you become dangerous. You no longer fear rejection. You no longer seek validation. You no longer ask for permission. You simply move like water, effortlessly, unapologetically, powerfully. That's what I learned through pain, solitude, and brutal self-honesty. Freedom begins where approval ends. So today I ask you, whose approval are you still chasing? Whose voice is still in your head telling you who you should be? Whose eyes are you trying to impress while your own soul goes unseen? Let them go, not with anger, but with truth. Cut the strings, reclaim your voice, and let your life be a masterpiece that doesn't need applause to be beautiful. Because the moment you approve of yourself, you become unstoppable. 7. Stop explaining your silence. Silence is a language, a powerful one. But in a world that fears what it cannot understand, your silence will often be misread. They will call it arrogance. They will label it weakness. They will interpret it as indifference, hostility, or pride. And when they do, you will feel the pull, the urge to defend yourself, to explain, to clarify, to say, I'm not distant, I'm just focused. To say, I'm not ignoring you, I'm just protecting my peace. To say, I'm not cold, I've just grown past the need to be constantly available. But I tell you this, don't explain your silence, because silence, when rooted in awareness, is not a void. It is a shield, a sanctuary, a strategy. Most people are afraid of silence, because in silence there is no distraction, only reflection. And reflection is uncomfortable for those who are running from themselves. That's why they talk so much. That's why they post every thought. That's why they fill every second with noise, music, updates, conversations, because silence forces them to meet the one person they're afraid of, themselves. But I learned this early. Powerful people do not fear silence. They embrace it, they wield it, they move within it. When I sat in silence, I heard things most people miss, the truth beneath the words, the energy behind the actions, the weight behind the pauses. Silence sharpened my instincts. It made me precise. It gave me clarity when others were drowning in confusion. But to live in silence, to move with it as your companion, you must first let go of the need to be understood. You see, most people want to be understood because they fear being judged. They want others to know their intentions, their reasons, their emotions. But in doing so, they often surrender their peace to those who never deserved access to it in the first place. You don't owe explanations for your peace. You don't owe translations for your boundaries, and you don't owe commentary on your growth. If your silence makes them uncomfortable, let it. If they misunderstand your stillness, let them. If they demand access to your inner world just to feel reassured, kindly decline. Your energy is not public property. Your presence is not a service. Your attention is not something to be distributed just to satisfy curiosity. There were times in my life when I walked away, not out of anger, but out of awareness. I chose not to speak, not because I lacked words, but because I had mastered restraint. And when they asked why I disappeared, I didn't explain. Because I didn't leave for them, I left for me. You have to understand, your silence is sacred. It is the place where you heal, where you recharge, where you reconnect to what truly matters. It is the training ground of the mind, the forge where discipline, patience, and presence are born. And yet, so many people disrespect their own silence. They break it just to prove a point. They interrupt it to avoid discomfort. They abandon it to satisfy someone else's insecurity. But the warrior knows. Silence is more than absence. It is dominance. It is control. It is strength restrained, power in meditation, clarity in motion. When everyone else is reacting, you're observing. When others are shouting, you're listening. When they're chasing attention, you're building focus. That's what separates the common from the exceptional. And yes, your silence will confuse them. They will wonder if you're angry. They will assume you're weak. They will question your loyalty, your love, your presence. Let them, because those who truly know you will not fear your silence. They will respect it. They will understand that your silence is not absence, but refinement. Not withdrawal, but alignment. Not emptiness, but fullness without the need for expression. Silence is how the master speaks when words become distractions. It is how a warrior retreats, not to run, but to reload. It is how a creator pauses, not to quit, but to prepare the next breakthrough. So I tell you, don't betray your silence to be seen. Don't sacrifice your stillness to be heard. Don't explain the parts of you that are still in evolution just to comfort those stuck in old versions of you. You are not here to constantly be understood. You are here to grow, to master, to transcend. And growth often happens in quiet. Mastery is built in the dark. The most powerful transformation is invisible to the untrained eye. So next time someone asks why you're so quiet, why you pulled back, why you don't talk like you used to, smile and stay silent, because the ones who truly matter will feel your presence, even when you say nothing. And the rest, they were never listening anyway. 8. Let rejection be redirection. Most people see rejection as failure. They see it as a wall, a wound, a message that says, you're not good enough, you don't belong, you're not wanted. So they take it personally. They replay it over and over. They let it pierce their confidence, shake their identity, and plant seeds of self-doubt that can last for years. But I'm here to tell you something different, something powerful. Rejection is not a curse, it's a compass. Every no you hear is not the universe shutting you down. It is the universe redirecting you, shifting your path, sharpening your focus, and sculpting your character. When a door closes, it's easy to bang on it, begging to be let back in. But a warrior does not beg. He watches, he listens, he senses when the energy is no longer aligned, and he moves forward, calm, quiet, precise. I have been rejected more times than I can count. Rejected by Hollywood because of how I looked. Rejected by studios because of how I spoke. Rejected by cultures that didn't understand the philosophy I lived by. They didn't see a star. They didn't see a visionary. They didn't see a master in the making. And for a moment, I was angry, but then I realized something. They weren't rejecting me. They were redirecting me away from compromise, away from watered-down versions of myself, away from people who would have dimmed my fire just to make me easier to manage. Rejection taught me to build my own path, to create my own platform, to become so rooted in who I am that I no longer needed anyone else's permission to shine. You must see rejection the same way, not as a sign to quit, but as a signal to evolve. That relationship you wanted so badly that didn't work out, it wasn't your ending, it was your awakening. That job that turned you down, it wasn't your death sentence. It was your liberation, freeing you to discover your true potential. The world is full of detours disguised as dead ends. You thought you failed, but really, you were just being rerouted to something stronger, deeper, truer. But here's the key. You can only be redirected if you let go of what rejected you. Too many people stay stuck at the gate of rejection, knocking, crying, waiting to be let back in. When life has already opened another door, one that leads to purpose, power, and peace, but they miss it because they're too busy chasing closure from people who never deserved access in the first place. They want validation from the very thing that wounded them. They want the past to make sense, not realizing that sometimes the lesson is in letting go. Let me be clear. Rejection is not about your worth. It's about your alignment. You are not rejected because you are unworthy. You are rejected because what you are becoming no longer fits where you were going. The energy no longer matched. The values no longer aligned. The growth you were about to step into required you to be removed from spaces that couldn't handle you. Think about it. When a tree grows too tall, it breaks through its pot. Not because the pot was bad, but because it was too small for what the tree was becoming. That's what rejection is, a signal that you are outgrowing the situation, that your next level needs a different environment, that your future cannot be built where your past was buried. But this mindset takes training. You must train your heart to release what your ego wants to hold. You must train your mind to see the big picture, not just the pain. You must develop the emotional discipline to walk away from what didn't choose you without resentment, without bitterness, without regret. Because the warrior knows, nothing that is truly for you will ever require you to beg, chase, or shrink. If it's meant for you, it will open with ease, flow with harmony, and meet you with mutual energy. But even when it doesn't, good. Because rejection exposes where your loyalty was misplaced. It shows you who was never truly with you. It teaches you to stand alone, to grow your roots deeper, to build your value from within. So let them say no, let them walk away. Let them laugh, ignore, betray, or misunderstand. Smile and walk forward. Because you weren't born to be accepted by everyone. You were born to become something rare, something real, something that doesn't need the approval of those who couldn't see your light in the first place. Let rejection refine you. Let it shape your strength. Let it clear your path of the people, habits, and thoughts that were never meant to walk with you. Rejection is not your enemy. It is the hand that pushes you toward your greatness if you let it. So next time you're rejected, don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what am I being prepared for? What door is about to open? What version of me is about to rise? Let the pain pass. Let the lesson land. Then let go. Because only by letting go of what's behind you can you step fully into the power waiting ahead of you. 9. Create a core that cannot be shaken. Let me ask you this. When life throws chaos at you, what happens inside you? Do you shake? Do you panic? Do you lose yourself every time the world stops clapping? Every time someone criticizes you? Every time you fall short or feel lost? If the answer is yes, then your foundation is weak. Your confidence is surface deep. Your peace is temporary. Because it's all based on conditions, on circumstances you don't control. And that's exactly why most people suffer. They spend their whole lives building their identity on things that move status, applause, looks, wealth, relationships, followers, reputation. So when those things change, and they will, they crumble. But I learned something in my own journey, through the fire, through rejection, through solitude. If you want to be free, if you want to be unshaken, then you must build a core that no external force can touch. What is the core? It is your unbreakable inner foundation. It is the part of you that doesn't move, even when everything around you does. It is not made of ego, not made of noise, not made of appearance. It is made of truth. It is forged in silence. It is held together by discipline, self-respect, clarity, and purpose. Think of a tree. On the surface, it sways with the wind, but underground, its roots hold firm, deep, anchored, unmoving. You must become like that. On the outside, flexible, able to adapt, to respond, to grow, but inside, unmovable. When someone disrespects you, you don't chase revenge. You stay grounded. When life tests you, you don't collapse into self-pity. You stay centered. When you fail, you don't question your worth. You reflect, adjust, and move forward without emotional collapse. This kind of inner strength doesn't come from pretending to be tough. It comes from doing the internal work every day, from building discipline when no one is watching, from telling yourself the truth even when it hurts, from keeping promises to yourself, from cutting off weak habits, toxic environments, and empty distractions that slowly eat away at your character. And here's the key. You don't build your core by winning. You build it when you lose and choose to rise again. You build it when you're alone and still walk with honor. You build it when no one supports you, but you keep moving forward, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Most people want to feel strong, but they don't want to go through what actually builds strength. You want to create an unshakable core, then learn to be calm in chaos. Learn to be patient when things are falling apart. Learn to observe your emotions without being ruled by them. You'll know your core is strong when someone tries to insult you, and you don't even flinch. When they lie about you, and you don't chase their approval. When your plans fail, and you pivot without bitterness. Because your peace doesn't come from them. It doesn't come from outcomes. It comes from the fire you walk through and the truth you earned on your own. There was a time when people tried to define me. Too Eastern, too philosophical, too intense. They said I was too fast for the screen, too different for the system. But none of that shook me. Why? Because I knew who I was. I had built a core of clarity. And once you build that, nothing can move you. No trend, no opinion, and no betrayal, no temporary failure. You begin to live from your values, not from other people's reactions. You begin to speak from alignment, not from a need to be liked. You begin to make decisions from the inside out, not the outside in. And here's what most don't understand. Stillness is not weakness. Calm is not lack of passion. Restraint is not powerlessness. It is control, it is mastery, it is strength that does not need to scream. So if you want real peace, if you want real power, then stop focusing so much on the surface, on the appearance, the applause, the short-term wins. Start building the part of you that no one sees, but everyone feels. The part that stays composed when others panic. The part that holds discipline when others fold. The part that chooses truth when lies are easier. That's your core. That's your anchor in the storm. That's your inner sanctuary no one can touch. And if you commit to building that every day through your habits, your thoughts, your choices, you will become the kind of person who doesn't break when the world tests you. You will bend, yes, but you will not break. You will adapt, yes, but you will not abandon yourself. You will become unshakable because you didn't just learn strength. 10. Respect yourself enough to walk away. Respect is not something you ask for, it's something you command through the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the standards you set, and the lines you refuse to cross. But let me tell you a secret that most people never learn. The greatest form of self-respect is knowing when to walk away. Not with anger, not with noise, not with drama, but with clarity, with strength, with quiet, undeniable confidence. Too many people stay in places that no longer honor them. They stay in relationships that drain them, jobs that cage them, friendships that mock their growth, conversations that insult their intelligence. They stay not because they belong there, but because they're afraid of the silence that comes after leaving, and they fear the unknown more than the disrespect. But I tell you this, when you respect yourself truly and deeply, your tolerance for anything less than truth and dignity disappears. I learned this the hard way. I was told to dim my light, to soften my philosophy, to dilute my art so I could fit into systems built to contain people like me. They told me, be more like them. Don't be so intense. Don't speak like that. Don't move like that. And I could have stayed. I could have played their game. I could have compromised a little here, a little there, until I no longer recognized the man in the mirror. But instead, I walked away. Because I would rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded in comfort built on lies. And you must learn to do the same. There will be moments when your soul whispers, this is no longer right for you. Listen, that whisper is your warning. That inner signal is your spirit telling you it's time to rise. To leave the conversation where you are constantly explaining yourself. To leave the room where your energy is only valued when it's convenient. To leave the relationship that thrives on your silence and punishes your truth. But most people ignore that whisper. They override it with logic, with guilt, with maybe next time. They say, It's not that bad. It could be worse. I don't want to make things difficult, and so they stay. Not realizing that every time you stay somewhere your soul has outgrown, you are teaching yourself how to shrink. Your self-respect erodes quietly. Your power leaks slowly. Your fire dims little by little until one day you're just a shadow of what you could have been. You don't need to wait until they disrespect you loudly. The subtle disregard is enough. The lack of effort is enough. The way they ignore your growth is enough. You don't owe anyone your peace, not your old friends, not your employer, not your partner, not even your past self. You owe yourself your freedom. You owe yourself your dignity. You owe yourself the courage to walk when the place you're standing in is no longer worthy of your presence. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've grown. It means you've seen clearly. It means your time, energy, and presence are no longer available for anything that insults your value, and don't get it twisted. Walking away is not always about cutting people off. Sometimes it's walking away from an old mindset, an old habit, an identity that you've outgrown, a dream that no longer fits the person you've become. Respect yourself enough to leave what you've outgrown, even if it's familiar, even if it once felt like home. Because growth often means outgrowing people, places, and patterns that once made sense, but no longer match your truth. People may not understand your silence. They may misread your exit. Let them, because you are not leaving to be understood. You are leaving to be aligned. You are walking away not to prove a point, but to return to your power. And the warrior does not stay where he is not seen. The warrior does not remain where he is not respected. The warrior knows his presence is a privilege, not a given. So let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. Let them feel your absence. Because your absence will teach them what your presence never could. Walking away is not the end. It is the beginning of something real. The start of a new chapter where your energy is honored, your peace is protected, and your path is finally your own. But none of this is possible until you choose you. So ask yourself today, where are you staying too long? What are you tolerating that's beneath your truth? Who are you shrinking around? And then make a decision, a bold one, a quiet one, a final one. Because when you respect yourself enough to walk away, you don't just leave a situation. You rise above it, you evolve beyond it, you break free from it, and in doing so, you return to yourself, stronger, clearer, unshaken. 11. Laugh at the noise. You will never move freely in life until you stop fearing noise. The noise of opinions, the noise of judgment, the noise of gossip, criticism, misunderstanding. And when I say noise, I don't just mean sound. I mean distraction, the chatter of the world trying to shape your identity, tame your fire, and limit your belief in yourself. It's everywhere. You hear it from strangers who know nothing about you, from peers who envy your confidence, from family who fear your evolution, from a society that praises your silence but punishes your uniqueness. And most people, they drown in it. They absorb it. They take it personally, replay it in their minds, and let it define their steps. But I'll tell you what I learned. You can't stop the noise. You can't make the world quiet. What you can do is master your response to it. And the most powerful response, laughter. Not the laughter of mockery, not the arrogance of ego, but the calm, centered, unbothered laughter of someone who knows exactly who they are. When they criticized my accent, I laughed. When they mocked my size, I laughed. When they told me martial arts would never reach the world stage, I smiled. Not because I was blind to the insults, but because I was rooted too deeply to be shaken by them. Laughter is a shield. It is the sound of emotional freedom. It is the refusal to let someone else's chaos become your cage. When someone tries to provoke you and you laugh, you break the chain. You rise above the bait. You turn their attempt to control your emotion into a silent declaration of your strength. And here's the secret. People are afraid of what they can't control. They'll try to test you with rumors, with shade, with little jabs to see if you'll break. And when you don't, when you stay grounded, calm, amused, you become untouchable, because the person who cannot be provoked is the one who holds the power. But to get there, you have to stop internalizing everything. You have to stop giving every opinion, every insult, every backhanded comment a seat at your table. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Not everyone deserves a response. Train yourself to observe without attachment. When someone says something about you, ask yourself, do they truly know me? Do they live my life? Do they carry my vision, my discipline, my pain, my purpose? If the answer is no, then why should their opinion weigh more than dust in the wind? The louder the world becomes, the more you must become like water, fluid, light, untouchable. Do you know how much energy is wasted explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, fighting battles that don't matter, trying to win approval from people whose judgment is built on insecurity? That's why laughter is so powerful, and it ends the fight before it begins. It says, I don't owe you a reaction. I don't need to lower myself to meet your noise. I've seen powerful people crumble because they were too addicted to being liked. They couldn't handle being misunderstood. They needed everyone to see their heart, validate their moves, justify their journey. But freedom begins when you realize they don't have to understand, they don't have to agree, they don't have to clap. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing this because your soul knows it's right. And when your sense of peace comes from that inner clarity, the noise becomes funny. You hear the rumors, laugh. You see the comments, smile. They twist your words, doubt your intention, misread your silence. Good, let them. Because your life is not meant to be diluted into something the world can comfortably digest. Your truth is too bold, your energy is too rare, your path is too sacred, and yes, it will be noisy. The more you grow, the louder it gets. But when you learn to laugh instead of react, to smile instead of explain, to rise instead of argue, you become free. Free from needing to be liked, free from needing to be understood, free from the emotional chains that keep most people stuck. So I tell you, laugh at the noise, not out of arrogance, but out of peace, because you have better things to focus on: your craft, your discipline, and your legacy. Let the world talk, you walk, and let your silence, your calm, your laughter be the sound that drowns everything else out. 12. Be so focused you don't even notice. Focus is the ultimate form of self-respect. It is the quiet declaration that your energy, your time, your attention are sacred. It is the art of saying, I refuse to be owned by distractions, by noise, by things that don't grow me. And the highest level of focus is when you don't even notice the distractions anymore because you've risen above them. People often ask me, how did you stay so disciplined? How did you deal with the criticism, the doubt, the rejection, the noise? The answer is simple. I didn't deal with it, I outgrew it. I was so focused on the mission, on the purpose etched into my soul, that I had no room left to entertain the opinions of those not walking my path. I didn't hear the gossip. I didn't chase applause. I didn't pause to debate with those committed to misunderstanding me, because when you're truly focused, your vision becomes louder than their voices. But here's what you must understand. Focus is not about blocking everything out by force. It's not about living in denial or pretending you don't feel the sting of doubt. It's about being so committed to your path that nothing else deserves your emotional investment. Think of it like this. A laser is powerful not because it has more energy than a flashlight, but because its energy is concentrated, targeted, and disciplined. That's what your focus must become. And this kind of focus doesn't just happen. You must train it. You must sharpen it every day like a blade. You must remove the clutter from your life like dead weight. That means cutting off what drains you, even if it once felt familiar. That means turning down comfort when it threatens growth. That means walking away from shallow conversations, aimless scrolling, petty arguments, and hollow approval. Because every time you let something meaningless hijack your attention, you are stealing from your future. You are trading legacy for distraction, depth for noise, purpose for comfort. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to grind. It's about choosing what matters most, again and again, until it becomes who you are. I didn't build my legacy because I wanted to be famous. I built it because I was obsessed with becoming the highest version of myself. And that obsession, that sacred focus, demanded my full attention. While others were arguing, I was training. While others were chasing trends, I was mastering truth. While others were busy trying to be seen, I was becoming someone worth seeing. That's what focus does. It doesn't just make you efficient. It makes you rare. It makes you dangerous to the mediocre, confusing to the average, and inspiring to the disciplined. But here's the challenge. The world is designed to fracture your focus. Every app, every headline, every meaningless argument, every expectation pulls you away from yourself. You're told to multitask, to always respond, to always be available. But the warrior knows. Availability to everyone is a betrayal of your purpose. You cannot build greatness while constantly reacting. You cannot reach depth if you are always skimming the surface. So train your focus like a muscle. Start your mornings with intention, not distraction. Protect your time like a warrior guards his sword. Say no, not just to people, but to habits that dilute your discipline. Choose to be unavailable for anything that doesn't align with your higher self, and watch what happens. You'll begin to feel light, clear, powerful. You won't get angry when people doubt you. You won't flinch when they talk about you. You won't waste energy trying to be understood, because you'll be too focused building, mastering, becoming. Let them think you've disappeared. Let them think you're distant, arrogant, cold. Good. Let them talk, because while they're talking, you're working. While they're watching, you're sharpening. While they're gossiping, you're growing. That's the power of sacred focus. It doesn't just make you productive, it transforms your entire way of being. You begin to move like water, fluid but intentional, calm but fierce, detached from noise but fully connected to purpose. So I ask you, what are you still giving your energy to that doesn't deserve it? What distractions are you still feeding? What noise are you still trying to silence instead of rising above? Let it go. Let it fade and rise. Be so focused, so locked in, so consumed by your mission that you don't even notice the distractions anymore. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to announce every move. You just need to be so aligned with your path that the world has no choice but to feel your presence, even in your silence. That's how you become untouchable. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you stay unshaken. The world will always try to shape you, bend you, shake you, break you. It will offer you approval, only to control you. It will hand you rejection, hoping you'll crumble. It will feed your ego, then starve your soul, but you must rise above it. Not with anger, not with fear, but with stillness, with clarity, with control. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to respond to every critic. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone, because the warrior who knows himself cannot be moved. Detach from the image they created for you. Master the silence within. Kill the need to please. Let rejection fuel your direction. Cut every string that ties you to shallow approval, and build a core so deep, so strong, so anchored in truth, that no storm can shake you, no voice can distract you, no failure can define you. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out, not by shouting, but by mastering your energy, by becoming so calm, so focused, so free, that the world can no longer shake you. Move like water, speak like thunder, stand like stone, and live like the fire inside you was meant to burn, with or without applause. Stop caring, start becoming, and let your silence echo forever.